Welcome back, Movie Howl. My name is Joe. I am joined once again by Ryan, and we are here to review not a movie this time. We review movies so far. This I would classify as a film. This is The Lighthouse, starring both Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson. And this was a film that I think my brother would have really appreciated. He was into weird films and things that were certainly not mainstream, which I put this in that category wholeheartedly. I want to say this first about it. When I got done watching this film, I just sat there for a minute and I felt very anxious. It was a hell of an experience. I'm not sure. I'm almost not sure exactly the things I want to talk about with it, but we're going to review it and we really hope you enjoy it. And I'm dying to know, Ryan, what did you think of this movie?
Well, we were texting before we got on here that we each had to grab a drink.
Yep.
You're right. Mine is not water or soda. It's gin, mostly gin.
Mine is straight whiskey, no ice, just whiskey.
This took some time to recover from, enough to where I could think about it right. I had to do yard work after this.
Oh my God.
Like we have a yard waste pickup coming up. So I got done watching this. I went outside and I'm riding around on the lawnmower just with this running around my head like
Jesus fuck.
Just I had no idea what was going on. I'll say this. You probably shouldn't watch it if you're listening to this. It's probably better for your mental health to avoid it. That being said, it is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. Up until this point, that spot was taken by Beyond the Black Rainbow, which is really, really bizarre and hard to track.
Which I have not seen.
This beat it. Like, I had been saving that movie for a point where we had more listeners built up and we needed, like, just something big. And I think I shouldn't be allowed to pick movies anymore. Because I picked Nomadland, and then I picked this. And
okay,
neither of those.
I know you say you picked this, but this was also one I wanted to watch as well.
I wanted to watch it because of Robert Pattinson. Before Ben Affleck went out as Batman, I watched Argo and The Town.
Okay.
And I thought this would be the same sort of thing. Like, I thought it would be a thing that would give me more of an introduction into Robert Pattinson's acting ability and having him in a more serious role. I had my doubts about how well this would go with Willem Dafoe being in it and just how famously bizarre he is. But I didn't expect anything like this. This is
a perfect movie for him.
Oh my God, he is so good in it.
They're
both really, really good. Like, their really acting is so good. Again, don't watch it. If you value your sanity, don't watch it. If you have a wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, fiance, loved ones, kids, don't watch it with them.
Oh my God, no.
Like, if you watch it, you need to watch it by yourself or with somebody brave and assess it, because this is so weird. Like, I texted my fiance while I was watching this and I was like, I am so glad we didn't decide to try to watch this together yesterday. Like, you would not be able to handle this.
Oh my God.
Like, we tried to watch the first episode of that Teen Titan series and she couldn't handle that.
I'm sorry. Like the cartoon?
No, there's a live action one.
Okay.
And it's relatively violent, at least in the beginning, but we got maybe 15 minutes in and she was like, nope, can't do this. So this movie, the stuff that happens in this, oh my God. I mean, not like violence wise, just everything that's going on in it. It is so weird.
There's so much to it. And my first reaction when the movie ends is I didn't like that. But the more I digested it, the more I thought about it. Oh my gosh, I think it's great. I don't know if I've changed my position on still not liking it, but I think it's great.
Okay.
So number one, the acting, like you've already mentioned, was fantastic. Willem Dafoe. So there's two characters basically in this entire movie. That's really all there is.
Mm-hmm.
So for everyone who doesn't know what this movie's about, it's now both Ryan and I on this channel have done kind of madness movies. We did High Rise, we did Joker, this is a whole nother, not even level. This is like levels beyond what we have already reviewed. Like those movies that we reviewed that were madness, they were movies. This, as I wrote in here, as I have said every time I've texted anybody, talked to my girlfriend about it, this is a film. And it is a film about two men who work at at a lighthouse, old school lighthouse, and end up getting stuck there because of a bad storm when they didn't expect to. It was supposed to be 4 weeks, and then that was it, but they end up getting stuck, and just how everything goes from there. One thing I never realized that I didn't even write down in my notes, but wanted to talk about was how much work is involved in keeping something like this maintained. There's no computers, there's no anything that we'd be used to or that we would think of with a modern, probably lighthouse. But like his wheelbarrow has a metal wheel, like, and he's trying to wheel the coal from where he gets the coal to the furnace that runs everything. There's so much physical effort involved in this that I was just in awe of that by itself. But that's such a small portion of what really this movie is about.
While you're talking about features you liked, I just wanted to interject that I really liked the way it was filmed.
Yes.
I really liked the framing. I liked the visuals. It looked like a lot of the shots were done with just available light. There's some really cool silhouette effects, and the way, the way the what am I trying to say? The way the tones kind of roll off, the transitions from darks to lights, things like that. I knew immediately it had to be film, and I looked it up, and it was. It was shot on a certain type of Panavision camera using lenses from the 30s and a specific type of film that I'm not going to mention because nobody's going to care about that. But I really like the effort. I mean, you're talking about effort it took to run a lighthouse. There would have been a lot of effort involved in doing this movie with these old style lenses, trying to get the exact aesthetic they're going for, especially when you can't review it in real time the way you might want to.
Yeah.
I mean, if they screwed up a scene or if there was a hair in the gate of the camera, they might have to go back and reshoot a whole sequence, something like that. It was really impressive the way they did that. The other thing that was really strange to me was the sound design. Some of the I have a fairly high end Bose system at home that was provided the sound for this or started to, and I had to switch to headphones because the sound it was making my speakers crackle.
Okay.
Like there was bass that went so low and these weird tones and these weird like ambient noises that just make you feel like you were saying so anxious. It's really like there's just so much effort and care put into this tone. Like the tone of the movie, the visuals of it, the sound, the way everything plays together to just make the whole thing incredibly uncomfortable.
Incredibly. I really had to turn it up. I had to adjust some settings in Prime because there were no subtitles for this. I couldn't put on a subtitle thing, so I had to turn it up. I had to put the speech at a higher level than everything else because I really wanted to pay attention and understand what was being said, and that was not a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
The first interaction between Willem Dafoe's character and Robert Pattinson's character after he first gets to this little island where the lighthouse is was great. It wasn't much. It was just them having some dinner, and Willem Dafoe was trying to toast, and he poured some. It was a clear form of alcohol, so whether gin or vodka,
Well,
probably.
we don't know that it's clear. We just know it's light. Could have been a light whiskey or a
I
rum.
mean, I guess so. It to me, it looked clear.
Okay.
So I assumed it was some sort of gin or whiskey, but yeah, it could have been that. This movie we haven't mentioned. If you look up anything about it, it's in black and white. So, like you said, some of the visuals, like when Robert Pattinson's looking up at nighttime at the lighthouse, and there's like a silhouette that as the light goes by, it's Willem Dafoe standing there, and it's behind Robert Pattinson's character. It's really good,
Mm-hmm.
really well done. But that first interaction with those two, he's trying to toast, and and Robert Pattinson, he for whatever reason won't drink the alcohol, and so he dumps it out and he fills it up from the spigot that's in the house, and it's like septic water. He spits it out immediately, and Willem Dafoe kind of laughs at him. That's what you get, and you have all this work you have to do. It set the tone for what this movie was going to be, and I don't know if I was like, based on the previews, I kind of thought I knew what I was getting into. I 100% did not know what I was getting into.
Yeah, I actually kind of expected it to be a little bit like There Will Be Blood because there was no dialogue until about the 7-minute mark.
Right?
I mean, There Will Be Blood, I think, goes like almost 20 minutes before anybody says anything. I did find a subtitle setting, so maybe there's something up with whatever you use to watch it. But
Oh, maybe.
from that very first toast, I had to turn on subtitles
Yep.
because, like, just the stuff they're saying, it all sounds more the way it would sound if you were in the room, kind of, versus the way it would sound if they were mic'd up.
Got you.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not particularly clear. Like, if Robert Pattinson is looking down, you know, his speech is a little bit more muffled than it otherwise might be. It's not super clear. When they're drunk, they're like mumbling. But
yeah, I expected this, or I can't say I expected, but from the outset of this movie, there's a very creepy tone with it, but it wasn't creepy. It was insane.
It was, yeah, 100%.
It was insane.
Well, from here, do you want to get into spoilers?
Oh, we're gonna have to.
So what's your recommendation at this point? Watch or not watch?
Oh my gosh. I went back and forth on this. I have to say watch. The performances in this are fantastic. Willem Dafoe, which I'm not surprised, he's a creepy dude in and of himself. He was great in the role of the leader, the head of these two men. There's two men. And so he's in charge. And he's in charge of whether or not this character that's played by Robert Pattinson gets paid. Like, he comes just to work the lighthouse. And so he's in charge of whether or not he gets paid at all. He was fantastic. And Robert Pattinson was fantastic. So, like you said, do not sit down with your loved ones. Certainly do not sit down with any children and try and watch this movie. But it is okay. Again, I said movie. I don't mean to say it's a film. I'm really trying to make that distinction between the two. We have reviewed up to this point movies.
A movie is enjoyable.
Right.
This was something else. Enjoyable. This is an experience.
Yes. Yes, it is.
So I would still stick by my original thing. Probably don't watch it unless you just really want to go through a weird experience. It is so fucking weird.
It's so weird.
Oh my God. So we'll get into spoilers from here. You've been warned. If you want to, I mean, maybe from this, you'll decide if you want to actually watch it. There's no way that what we talk about is going to do it any justice. So do you have any particular points you want to call out or any questions you would like to ask if you had
one of the first things, and you can feel free to cut this out, that's fine. But one of the first things that popped into my head when Robert Pattinson is walking up, it's his first time really making the rounds as it was doing his regular daily chores. And he's walking up with this wheelbarrow full of coal, and there's a seagull who blocks his path.
Yes.
And it's where, after that is where Willem Dafoe's character says something about don't kill a seabird. It's bad luck. It's bad luck to kill a seabird. But when I saw that, the only thing I could think about was that stupid video I sent you with the seagull. That's all I could think about.
Yeah, I sampled that for the soundboard here because as soon as I saw that seagull looking at that guy, I thought the seagull was thinking,
"You fucking fat fuck."
There are, and this isn't really one of them, there are a couple moments of levity in this movie. Not a lot, but there's a couple moments. Like, there's a line that I wrote down where Willem Dafoe's character is very possessive of the lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And to get up to the top level where the light itself is, it's under lock and key. And Robert Pattinson at one point carries up, he has to oil something. And he carries
Oh
up
my God,
this
yeah.
drum of oil. It looks heavy as sin. And he's carrying up all these stairs. And the line is, you a dullard? Ah, fooled me.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
great. It was
Yeah, he hands him the smaller like canister that he's supposed to use. He's like, all right, take that drum
absolutely.
back down unless you're gonna burn this whole place.
I used to play a BioWare game called Jade Empire,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a character in it called Three Sheets Dutong because all he did was drink. It was always three sheets to the wind.
Okay.
I kind of feel like that right now,
Dude, I felt messed up after watching the movie.
right?
I didn't even drink anything during it, and I felt
Yep.
messed up. And there was a point where I realized Robert Pattinson's character hadn't drank anything in a while, and he still looked messed up. Like he's just anyway. Okay, so we were gonna go through this. So the seagull showing up, there's that whole conversation about don't kill a seabird, it's bad luck.
Right.
Let me take a look at my notes. I took a couple pages of notes on this, just
Yeah, me too.
I mean, there are some moments that look really cool. Like I said, I really like the visuals. Um, I thought at first that the scene of Robert Pattinson going in, he's like putting his stuff down and whatever, and you hear this water running noise,
Yes.
and then you realize it's Willem Dafoe pissing in a chamber pot,
Yes.
and he's just out of view because he's like behind this chimney stack or whatever it is. I thought that was just to kind of establish more about the time that they're in and the conditions they're living in, because I didn't like it in Nomadland that they showed stuff like that. It didn't really bother me per se, but it just didn't seem to serve much of a purpose. They kind of hit that point a couple times in that movie.
Yeah.
In this one, they hit it a few times, and it does actually pay off at the end,
Oh my God.
where Robert Pattinson is flipping out on him, talking about his farting. I meant to clip it out and make like some sound clips for the board out of it. Where it's like, you goddamn farting.
That was so good.
Oh man, that whole thing, and then he's just like, you got a word away with words. Oh man.
So there's a scene where, all right, as this movie progresses, it gets to the point where, and even the whole thing, really, you do not know how much time has passed ever throughout this entire movie. You have no earthly idea from point A to point B how much time has gone by. But there's a point where Willem Dafoe gives this speech to Robert Pattinson, and he just goes off. Like, Robert Pattinson doesn't like his cooking,
Oh my god, yeah.
and he gives him this huge, it's not even a speech. He's cursing this man.
Yeah, he's appealing to Poseidon, basically, to
Poseidon,
take him and
whoever you
destroy
wanna call
him.
And
Yeah.
at the end, this is one of the moments where I genuinely laughed because at the very end of that, Willem Dafoe has this huge monologue about Neptune and cursing Robert Pattinson's character. And at the very end of it, he's like, oh, okay, well, feel that way about it. I liked your food.
Yeah. Yeah. It was just, yeah, real quick thing, like, fine, have it your way. I liked your cooking.
Oh my God.
It's one of the only moments I laughed at too. Another big what the fuck moment was when
Mermaid vagina?
oh my god. Okay, so all right, the preferred no. Well, he finds the mermaid thing. Okay, here's two connected
Yes.
things that I noticed. He
In the very
sits down.
beginning.
Yeah, he sits down on the bed and he notices something like that he's sitting on. And he reaches into this little hole in the mattress and he pulls out like some stuffing and then he pulls out this wooden mermaid toy thing,
Right.
whatever it is.
Yes.
Okay, so there's that. There's also a scene where he's repairing the roof and he looks
Yes.
through this hole and you see Willem Dafoe butt and he's like grinding on the bed. And it made me wonder, is there a hole like that in both mattresses? And is this what that's for?
I had to rewind that.
I did
That
too.
exact scene you're talking about. Was like, I
Didn't-
skipped back the 10-second skip and was like, did I see what I thought I saw? And yes, absolutely.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Anyway, yes, he does find this mermaid. There's this whole thing. The mermaid reveal got spoiled for me because I paused it at one point, and Amazon being Amazon, they've got that X-ray thing,
Yes.
and it showed, so and so plays the mermaid.
Yep.
And there's this scene, and you find out that this body that he's seeing is the guy that he allowed to die.
Right.
I couldn't totally tell what I was looking at in the water, but it turned out to be logs and this person floating there. And then under it all,
That's what that was. Those were logs.
Yeah, they were logs. I didn't realize
Absolutely.
it until
That
he
makes
says
sense.
way later on that he used to be a logger.
That absolutely makes sense now. Thank you.
And then there's this mermaid that shows up, and she's making this screeching noise, and I kind of regretted that I had headphones on at that point because that was horrifying.
I bet you did.
And they're not they're those Sennheiser ones that I always wear. So it was all around me. Yeah, that was super weird. And she shows up again. He thinks he's seeing a body on the beach, and he goes over, and it's this pretty girl, and he's touching her.
Right,
he touches her face and moves the seaweed out.
Seaweed off of her face, and then he goes down and
he sees her. He sees her boobs, and he's like, all right, I can do this. And then he goes down, and he sees her gills, and he's like,
Jesus fuck.
And then he goes down further, and he starts seeing all that stuff, and he's like,
Jesus fuck what?
And then we see him masturbating multiple times in this movie.
Okay,
more than we need to. And
if you're going to bring that up, I have to say, the very first time they showed a scene with that, my first thought was, you just got here. I understand. I know this is going to be a movie about you being stuck here based on the synopsis I read. There's been other movies made on the Lighthouse. This is not an original story. You just got here, dude.
What was worse about it was I watched it with subtitles, and in the subtitles it said soft thudding for that noise. It had that noise subbed in. It was and then at the one point we see him doing it, and then we see what he's thinking about, and he's trying not to think about the guy that he allowed to die.
Right.
But he's also thinking about that mermaid and that
wet ass cloaca
that he just can't. And then he's imagining it. He's imagining having sex with this mermaid.
Okay, so speaking of that right there, that's something I need to bring up in this movie. There's many things that happen that you do not know if they're real or fake. In Joker. Let's take an example of Joker. There were things that happened in Joker that they go back and show you what actually happened versus what he imagined happened. In this movie, so many things happen, and you have no idea. Did this actually happen? Did he imagine it? There's a point where Willem Dafoe's character says to him, "You've been saying this to me for weeks."
Yes. And Willem Dafoe also changes his stories. He tells him at one point he broke his leg, and he was in this hospital run by nuns, and he's joking about how the nuns were.
Right.
And then the next time we hear that story, he's talking about how he had scurvy, and that did his leg in.
Right.
And that's when we start to think that it's him that's doing this stuff. And Robert Pattinson is drunk. It's right before that scene that you talked about earlier where he goes on that monologue about, Neptune or Poseidon, whatever he called him, destroy this dude. And Robert Pattinson is like, I don't buy this. You said everybody's teeth fell out on the boat, and then you were stranded on an island and you ate grass. How do you eat grass without teeth? Every animal that eats grass needs teeth. So he's clearly questioning him.
The answer to that, by the way, the answer to how do you eat grass without teeth was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was great.
There are a lot of good moments between them too, where I feel like they're actually getting along pretty well. But there are so many moments of this, ambiguity where you don't know, is it an unreliable narrator situation, or is it that Willem Dafoe is actually doing something and trying to make him nuts? There's a point where he's asking, what happened to the guy who had this job before me? What happened to that guy?
Right.
And he finds a head in the lobster pot, and he thinks that's the guy.
See, but okay, right there. Did he actually find a head?
Right, exactly. He's telling him, I found the body. I know what you did. And Willem Dafoe's like, what are you talking about? So I don't know if he's gaslighting him or what.
Right.
And then, oh my God, there's so many scenes. We know, I think Willem Dafoe being obsessed with the light, Thomas being obsessed with the light is real. Because he never let Robert Pattinson up there, who was originally called Ephraim Winslow. And then he reveals later on that he stole that identity from somebody he allowed to die that he hated. And his real name is Tom.
Thomas Howard.
Yes. So, but he just calls him Tommy. So we got Tom and Tommy. So Willem Dafoe, Tom, or Wake, we could just call him Wake, right? That was his name?
Yes.
So Willem Dafoe's character's last name is Wake, and Howard is Pattinson's last name. So let's just refer to them as that. But Wake never allows Howard up to the lighthouse. He always locks it when he's up there. We see multiple times that he like takes his clothes off when he's up there, and he like kind of basks in the light at night. That scene you were talking about where there's this shadow that's cast and it's kind of neat looking.
Yes.
That's a point where Robert Pattinson looks up there and sees that it's a point where Robert Pattinson sees that Wake is standing there at least shirtless in this light. And then he like hides around the corner and kind of watches him as he comes out and starts to put his clothes back on and stuff like that. And we also see him sneak into the lighthouse while Wake is up there, and we see Wake's bare feet through the grate, and we hear this noise and this moaning, and then this thick fluid starts coming down, and then a tentacle?
Right.
Like,
oh my gosh.
What was happening?
I don't know.
They never explained that. And all you're left asking is
it real?
Oh my, okay. So as I said, there's so many things that happen in this movie that you do not know if it's real or Howard, Robert Pattinson's character, imagining being just insane. I don't know. And one of the things I think I really liked about this movie was that you don't get those answers. I think too many movies nowadays have to give you the answer to every question versus just leaving it for the audience's imagination, leaving it for us to figure out or to think about ourselves and decide for ourselves what we think happened. And that's what happened in this one, because you have no idea.
Yeah, that's true. That's a point that I do like in a lot of movies. And I was kind of thinking about the movie industry in like totality as I was watching this, why is it? I mean, people complain about things like Marvel movies getting made, that's not real cinema. What the fuck is this? Like, what is this and how does it get made? How does this make money? Who greenlit this? Like, we're going to have a dude be stuck on an island with another dude who's older, and that dude's getting jerked off by an octopus monster at the top of a lighthouse. And the other dude really wants to get up there because he wants, a little bit of that
Cloaca
himself. And I just, none of it makes any sense. I mean, the one that really bothers, well, there are a lot that bother me. A lot of this movie bothered me. There's a scene, though, in particular where Robert Pattinson is looking for, I keep calling him Robert Pattinson, but you know who I mean, Howard is looking for Wake after he confesses that he allowed his old boss to die, that he saw that he was going to slip into the water and be forced under by these logs and just lets it happen.
Yep.
He goes looking for him, and he goes up into the lighthouse and out onto like the ledge or whatever. And there's a person laying there, and he reaches down, and the person turns around, and it's him.
Right.
And then somebody grabs him from behind, and he looks back, and it's Wake. But Wake is naked, and Wake's eyes are shining light onto Howard's face.
Oh my gosh.
And they have this really cool image.
Yep.
But what the fuck was that? And then the very next scene, it's daytime, and Howard is running across the island, and he runs into the shed, and he grabs a boat out, and he starts trying to pull it towards the water, and he's got a life vest on and all this stuff. And Wake comes running up behind him with an axe, and he goes, "Don't leave me," and like starts destroying the boat.
Which made sense. But then you're right. Immediately after that, they're back in the house, and Wake is telling Howard, well, why did you chase me with the axe? Why did you destroy the boat? Why did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And it just showed us the exact opposite of that happening. And you're like, wait, what actually happened?
A lot of the drunk scenes were fun to watch, kind of.
Yes.
I really like the one where they're they're slow dancing with each other. Like they get up and they're doing these like jigs. and then they're slow dancing together, and then they kind of look at each other for a second like they're gonna kiss, and then they shove each other away and both put their fist up, and they're like, yeah, yeah. And then they start punching each other. I mean, I know you're not allowed to do this anymore, but that's the kind of stuff me and my friends did as kids. Not the dancing stuff, but just like, all right, we're gonna fight now. We're gonna like wrestle now.
Right.
We never like really tried to hurt each other, but we just be like, all right, let's fight.
Right. That's what little boys do.
Mm-hmm.
We're aggressive creatures. That's what a human male is.
But it's like,
That's
this
ugh.
reminded me of so much as a kid. It's like, no, come on, let's do it. And they're like, all right. And then they fight for like 2 seconds and they're like, get off me. And they're just done. And then they go back to like, they have this constant back and forth between being friendly with each other and not, believing in each other and trusting each other and not. And one of the things that we find out that's important to mention, since we're talking about this unreliable narrator aspect to this movie, this film, is that Wake says the previous person who held the job went crazy. That
Right.
he believed that there was something with the light that was holy, divine, sacred, whatever it was, that he was obsessed with mermaids and things like that. And Howard at one point even thinks that the mermaid, what would you call that?
I
That
mean,
what is the, like a talisman almost? That thing that's hidden in it, that was hidden in his bed,
oh,
was meant to
I mean,
somehow control him or make him crazy.
yeah. It's just a little wooden mermaid statue, I guess.
Yeah. It's like a toy.
Yeah, it is like a toy. Yes.
But yeah, the whole I feel like all the tension is between, is this real? Is it not real? And we don't ever get resolution to it.
Nope.
We get at the very end. Do we want to talk about the very end scene? We might as well, I guess.
You know what? Let's not.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
not.
not.
Let's not talk about what happens at the very end, because
Okay.
I had questions about it for sure, and you and I can talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I wanted to mention is, like, when we talked about very early on in this, how he said it's ill luck, it's bad luck to kill a seabird,
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote down in my notes, that's some hefty foreshadowing right there. And
Mm-hmm.
the scene that happens when he tries to get a drink, and it's like this brackish, nasty water, and he goes and checks it out, and there's a seagull that has gotten into that water, and it's caused it, I guess, to be that way. And another seagull flies down, and he grabs it, and he kills the shit out of it.
Oh my god, yeah, he destroyed it. He
Did
grabbed
I
it
need
by
to?
everybody who lives by a lake has thought of doing this at some point to a goose. Because geese are mean and they shit all over your yard
Yep.
and they chase you. Oh my god.
And I need to know, did you laugh? Because I
No.
laughed.
No, I actually didn't. I watched with my mouth open, like, oh my god, because the thing kind of pecks at him, and you can tell that he's losing his patience.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of where he's at the time. He's not like totally off the rails yet.
And I get him being super frustrated with the seagulls, and there's one in his drinking water or however that works for them
Mm-hmm.
that caused this to be a problem, and he just grabs the seagull by the neck and just beats it against the concrete. Oh my gosh.
I hesitate to say that people who live near lakes have thought about doing this because it's so brutal in this movie.
It's brutal.
Like, I have thought before about, I don't know, just like picking one up, swinging it around, throwing it, so it thinks twice about coming back, not intending to cause permanent harm, not intending to kill, but he just beats this thing against the side of that concrete cistern until I mean, it's horrific.
It is kind of horrific, and which makes me feel like a slightly worse human being living on this planet
For
for having
laughing at
laughed
it.
at it
I mean, it's so cartoonish,
a little.
but it's like like, because it's fake, because
R-
it's just him losing his patience in a thing that is fake. It's kind of funny. If a real person did that, they would be destroyed by like Twitter. You know what I
I
mean?
mean,
Everybody on
if I
Twitter and
saw
Reddit would
that,
find out where they lived and like their career's over, everything's over.
if I saw that in real life, I would not laugh at that.
No,
It would
no.
probably make me sick.
No,
But
it's
this
just
scene,
it's
I couldn't help it.
yeah, as an insight into his state of mind. And again, it's one of these things that, like, is it real?
Yes.
It is so ridiculous.
Okay, something I wanted to bring up. There was a sound at the very beginning of this movie, and it came back towards the end of the movie that sounded almost like an air raid siren.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't sure if it was the lighthouse or the boat itself. And when the movie ended, I'm still not sure what that was at all, except for something the director wanted to have to make us feel anxious. That was weird.
Yeah, I think that's all it was. I think it's just partially the foghorn from the lighthouse and the ships, and partially their sound design to make you feel that way.
Okay, I get that. But so much of this movie was so they storm and Wake takes him out. He's like, dig here. And they're like digging in this storm and they dig up this box. And it's right after you find out that their rations, their supplies have been molded or I'm sorry. And this trigger warning, the word moist. They're moist. So that's a problem for their dry rations. And they dig up this crate, which is filled with nothing but booze.
Yeah,
And
and they're like
that's
rations.
where the movie goes from there. They just drink and drink and drink, and it's utterly ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. What's even more ridiculous, they go from Howard won't drink at all to he's drinking all the time. There's a little bit of a transition. There's a point where he's in the like engine room with the boilers and whatever else that machinery is, and he's shoveling coal into it, and he looks at the bottle that's
Right.
there, and he picks it up and smells it, but he doesn't drink it. He puts it back down, and then Wake comes in to get him about the rations being damp and about the mold forming and all that stuff. And then later on, their big concern is that they've run out of booze.
Yeah.
And then they're sitting in the lighthouse, and I didn't know what they were doing, so I actually looked it up. What were they drinking? And according to what I found, they were supposedly getting drunk off kerosene.
That's what I thought.
It's one of the strangest things and one of the most fitting lines I've ever heard from Willem Dafoe. It looks like they mix honey in with it, and they kind of taste it, and it makes it a little bit more tolerable. But Willem Dafoe takes a sip of it, and then he goes, he yells, "Monkey pump," according to the subtitles. Monkey pump. And then they both start screaming and beating their chests, and then that's the end of that scene. And presumably that's what they're drinking for the rest of the movie.
Right. Then you see that container the next day with them. Like that's what they were drinking, which kind of reminded me of, at this point, an older Jackie Chan movie, which was based on an even older Jackie Chan movie. It's called Legend of Drunken Master. And he ends up drinking this alcohol that they use to stoke the fire in this like metalworking place. And he has to drink that to get drunk to do what he does for the martial arts movie. But I assumed it was just that whatever he was using, that is not. I'm good. I don't.
Yeah, Movie Howl's official position is don't drink anything that isn't intended to be drank.
Yes.
Don't drink oil, don't drink kerosene, don't drink nothing, don't eat Tide Pods. Stick with water. Water is your best option. Drink water.
Water is your best option, I agree.
Oh my god, this movie. But so we started to get there earlier. Towards the end of the movie, it is really unclear what's happening. Who is losing their mind? Who's trying to trick who? What's going on? And Howard finds the logbook. There was a scene earlier where he had tried to find the logbook, and he'd picked the lock for the bureau, and the book wasn't in there. And so he goes and finds Wake sleeping with the logbook open and across his chest. And at first he's reaching for the keys, I guess. Like he's kind of looking at that. Then he's looking at the keys, I guess, to the lighthouse to get up to the light. And then he just reaches into his pocket and takes out his knife and is standing right over him. And this is one of those scenes that I would assume you're talking about when you mean this is film. This is like art. Because Dafoe, his eye pops open and he just looks over quickly, looks back, and then kind of squints a little bit in a suspicious way.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "That's a queer way to wear your shoes." Because Howard had taken his shoes off and put them in his pockets so that he wouldn't make any noise so he could sneak in. And I love that he's that aware that fast. Like, he's not a crazy old man. you know? And that's kind of
Yeah.
how they're painting him. Like he's, maybe he's this crazy old guy, maybe he's scheming, but he wakes up and he's like, that's a weird way to wear your shoes. Like immediately knows what's going on, but
What a
somehow
great
doesn't,
line that was.
and he doesn't find it strange, or he's not worried about the fact that Howard was lent over him. Because he's like, oh,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to wake you. It's like, what are you doing 6 inches from my face? But anyway, he finds the logbook later on and he's reading through it. And they'd had this conversation the night before Howard was supposed to leave and before this big storm happened. And Wake is telling him, like, oh, I might miss you. Like, you're on your way to be a wiki, which is some kind of slang term for a lighthouse operator.
I guess.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to miss you. And, you're going to be running one of these in no time and all that stuff. And then Howard is going through this book after the storm causes a huge wave to come in and it floods their house. And he pulls it up and they're having this conversation. And then he grabs the book and he's like, I forget what it all is. He's like, he's late. Assistant is missing. Regularly abuses himself in the supply shed. Stuff like that. Like he knows what's going on because there's a really creepy scene where Howard is jerking his gherkin in this shed and he like starts screaming
Yeah.
and then falls to the ground and he's got his pants down and then he starts crawling out. It is so goddamn weird. What?
I'm pretty sure that was the same scene that where you got some mermaid vagina. It was ridiculous.
Excuse me, the term is
Cloaca.
My bad.
and I was like,
Jesus fuck what?
yeah, there's no way to get around.
What the fuck is going on?
I love that you sent me that clip of this seagull eating a squirrel or whatever that was because
Rabbit.
oh my god, so many of these, like, what the fuck? It's
I was
dude,
I
it's-
was 100% not prepared for this movie.
no, definitely not. I thought this wasn't going to be good, and I don't think many people are going to like it or going to listen to this episode. But oh my god, we do this so you don't have to.
Yes. And this was a movie I wanted to watch. And I don't want to say that I'm not glad that I watched it. I don't just want to watch always fun, happy, hero wins in the end kind of movies. Like I want to watch something that challenges me, which is the way I felt with Joker. That it made me think about things in a different way that I hadn't thought before, and I appreciated that.
Joker was so good. This was just so weird. Nothing's ever explained.
Whereas,
Joker had the decency to at least show you when they were lying to you.
yeah,
And Joker was weird and controversial because of its message or its perceived message. I don't know that that's a story with a moral. I wouldn't consider Joker a fable, so to speak. Right?
yes,
This is the same. This is just telling a story. It is what
It
it
is.
is. Like it's just giving you this experience. It's like I went to the St. Louis Art Museum and they had this display where what it appeared to be was you're looking at a building and you're hanging upside down and you're being drawn upward. So what I imagine is they hung a camera upside down and pulled it up, or they let it down and they played the video in reverse. And it was just weird. And I kind of sat there for a while watching it and I was like, what the fuck is the point of this? But it's like somebody found it cool or meaningful or whatever,
Yep.
And this is one of those things. It's like, I don't know that I get the point of it, but it's super well made, whatever it is.
Yeah, cinematography, how it's done, the acting in it. It's all so well done, but the movie itself, unlike we'll take Joker, I could pop that again and watch it right now.
Mm-hmm.
This, I don't want to watch this again.
Nope. No, I doubt I'll ever watch this again unless I just want to hurt somebody with it. Like if I want to make them question the nature of their reality, I might put this in.
Oh, really? I got a movie for you. No, so Halligan's. There's been a lot we've talked about in this movie. I don't know if there's a whole lot more that he wants to talk about. I'm pretty shot with this. I don't know if there's anything else that I can even contemplate talking about without straight ruining the ending of it, which I don't want to do.
Okay, well then we won't talk about it. There's a little snippet at the end, which is like, what the fuck was that?
Yep.
What happened? Is this
Yep.
real? The whole culmination of the conflict, the fight. Oh my god. Dude, just that end scene. Also, I just have to say, this is the longest movie I've ever watched. I don't know how they made a movie that's around 2 hours or less, right?
Yeah.
Longer than the Snyder Cut.
It was 109 minutes.
Somehow I had been watching, it felt like maybe 2 hours. It's like, okay, this movie must be almost over. Nope, 48 minutes. Yeah.
So every time Ryan comes down to watch or no watch, for me, I have to say watch. Obviously some trepidation with that. Don't watch it expecting a great experience, hero wins at the end kind of movie. But this is an experience. The acting in it is amazing. The way it is filmed, things like that are really well done. The power of nature that it shows is great. But
I love the way it's shot. I love the effort that goes into it. I remember, I didn't look it up again before we started recording or before I watched it, but I remember seeing this interview a while back with Robert Pattinson about his role. And he
okay,
was talking about the fact that there was a specific accent he had to learn because the people who tended lighthouses in like the mid to late 1800s in this area had their own unique accent and their own unique way of talking.
really?
Yeah, he was saying, and I think he was saying that they still speak that way today. It's like this strange, like, dialect that just somehow survived. Yeah, but he was saying that he had to speak that way. He had to learn to speak with that accent, and I guess Willem Dafoe did as well. And one of the things that I noticed that I did look up before this was, what is that accent? And it led me down this other rabbit hole where people were talking about that. And they were talking about something that I noticed, which is that his accent seems to go back and forth
Uh-huh.
in this.
Yes.
And the theory that somebody put forward on Reddit was that because he was pretending to be somebody else and he was kind of on the run, when he was going about his daily business, his accent was what it was expected to be for where he was. And when he drank, it slipped.
Yes. I noticed that he went back to a very Boston accent when he was in it and drinking and really getting into, as they would say in Game of Thrones, into his cups.
Yeah. Into their buckets of
Yeah.
kerosene. Jeez. Yeah. And there are these scenes where it's like, you and I are very good friends, right?
I'd like to think so.
I
Yes,
would
sir.
say so. But we've never drank and then one of us laid on the other's lap and like
Agreed.
divulged secrets. There is such weird intimacy between these two.
Now, we've also never been stuck on a lighthouse together for an indeterminate amount of time with nothing but booze. Food's gone. Maybe you can catch a crab, but that's never
Hmm.
happened either.
Now that you say it like that, yeah, we might end up like dancing and then fighting and stuff. But
And
I
it's
don't know.
possible.
They have this weird, like I was saying, they go back and forth. They have this weird intimacy, and then they go to like fighting.
Yep.
One trying to escape the island, the other trying to keep him there. So weird. It's so weird, dude.
So weird.
I don't know what else to say about it, except I really wanted to use my clips more. Like, come on. What is wrong with you? Play.
Cloaca,
There we
cloaca,
go. Oh,
cloaca,
God.
cloaca,
Oh, God.
cloaca,
No.
cloaca, cloaca.
What have you done?
Cloaca,
I broke it.
You better leave that in. Oh my god. So I said how I felt, watch or no watch. How do you feel with this movie?
I kind of want to stick by what I said. I don't want to betray my past self, but I think it's a watch with caution, right? Be aware of how this is. Be aware that it's going to make you uncomfortable. If it doesn't make you uncomfortable, that should maybe be worrying.
Oh my gosh.
But it is okay. A good movie to put beside this is something like the Fantastic Beasts movies in terms of like the total opposite.
About to say I have confusion.
Do you request elaboration?
Yes.
So the Fantastic Beasts movies are weird, but they are total softballs. Like they give you exactly what you want. They don't demand too much from you. They're very entertaining. They're pretty to look at, and they give you a satisfying conclusion with a slight bit of ambiguity.
Okay.
This is the complete opposite. So if you like the other kind, where you know that you're going to come away feeling better at the end of it, watch something else. If you like experiences where you put yourself through something. If you like Joker but wanted it to be more uncomfortable, watch this.
Yes.
If you've ever seen Beyond the Black Rainbow and you like that movie for whatever reason, unironically, get help and watch this. Because I guess we'll have to do that one at some point.
We will now, I guess.
It's just so weird. I tried to start a podcast before we tried to do this one, and I made a friend of mine watch that movie, and that killed that podcast idea.
So you started out with something that was, you got to work up to that.
It was unreviewable. And it wasn't.
That's a challenge, sir. I accept. Challenge accepted.
All right, maybe that'll have to be our next one. We'll just like have 2
Oh,
weeks
okay.
of
Now slow your
nonsense.
roll. Damn it, dude. I don't know about next one. I wouldn't mind a softball as the next one. Holy crap.
Okay. Hey, I should have just used the app on my phone. I had like Real Good or something like that. What to watch? I don't remember what it was called, but I had one where I would literally just press a button and it would just tell me a movie. Because that's what I used to use at home every once in a while. Like, I want to watch something. I just had this app. I plugged in what services I had. Boop, hit a button, tells me what to watch.
Okay.
Maybe I'll do that instead of choosing these again since it's not going particularly well.
Oh man. So you're going with watch with apprehension? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. Watch, but be aware of what you're getting into. I would say in general, don't watch it. It's for a select audience, really.
It is.
It's for people who want this kind of experience.
This is not your average everyday Hollywood movie at all.
And headphones honestly did help. Like I have a Roku Ultra, so I just plugged my headphones into that.
Nice.
It helps so much with being able to understand what they were saying because that accent is so strange and the way the audio is recorded is, I don't know, it works well. Like it sounds cool, but you can't pick up every word they're saying. And there are clearly times you're not supposed to, like when they're dancing and singing, you're not supposed to understand what they're saying. But yeah, I would say watch cautiously. Like 10% of you listening should watch it. The rest of you should be aware of it.
Even that much.
Yeah. It's so weird. I'm totally after this. I'm going to go watch some reviews of it. I'm going to see if Stuckman ever talked about it. I'm going to see if The Drinker ever talked about it. I don't even know how it fared on like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes or any of that stuff.
Yeah. I don't even know, to be honest, I don't even know if I want to watch reviews of it. Is how much it, I don't want to say messed me up, but my gosh. I've never felt after finishing a film how it made me feel inside the way this movie made me feel. It was actually ridiculous.
Yeah, you texted me because you watched it yesterday.
Yeah, it was an experience.
According to Google, 82% of Google users liked the movie. And on IMDb, it has a 7.5 out of 10. It had a budget of $4 million and a box office of 18.3.
Man.
Which if they could do this on $4 million, that's amazing. I mean, I realized that almost the entire movie is just those two in a very like limited, shooting area in terms of the number of locations. I don't know if they actually shot in some kind of lighthouse or if they had sets or how they did it, but that's incredible.
I feel like it was at an actual lighthouse based on having just watched it. I feel like that's what it was.
Yeah, I might have to look up more about how they made it. If there's here's something. If there's a director's commentary, that would be something to watch. And this was directed by Robert Eggers.
Sounds dangerous.
That's somebody we're going to have to watch out for or watch more of.
Right?
It could be good or it could be bad. It's so weird, dude. It's so weird.
Yeah, after my first reaction is I don't like it. Then, having slept on it and being like, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. It was an interesting movie. Well, sorry, interesting film that I don't know, folks. I hope you all can, if you choose to watch it, can appreciate it in the way that it's meant to be appreciated. As we said, cinematography, the way it's shot is amazing. The acting in it, it's so well done. I really love the back and forth between these two characters. Really just great. But the movie itself, for those who want to sit down and go watch it, the best I can say is good luck.
Yeah. And one last comment, really last comment. I do the Midwest goodbye comments. Like I'm like, okay, last thing I want to talk about. And then I keep going. These two actors work so well together.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
really surprised at the chemistry they seem to have together. And I don't know if it's just that they're both so good or if they were both actually having fun doing this. Because I would kind of think you would be. It was a bizarre movie. It'd be hard not to have fun during, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so that's all I've got. I still haven't heard from anybody. We're asking
Oh,
you to
come on,
reach out.
people. Come on, reach out. Let us know. Just comments on YouTube, whatever. Hit us up at Movie Howl
Yep,
on
or
Twitter. I mean, I take care of that, and I'll just say I'm sorry. I'm not good at that, but I'm trying.
and I'm at ManPanda. That's my own Twitter handle. And then we have an email address, moviehowl@gmail.com. And I'm thinking about putting up a Facebook page to announce new episodes coming out or what we have scheduled. Trying to be more interactive, more,
Have fun with that, bro.
Yeah. I want to get some feedback. I want to know there are clearly people listening. I want to know what they like. I want to know what they don't like. The only
And
thing
remember,
I can...
for those who are listening, give us an idea of a movie you want us to talk about.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
Or something
Like-
you want us to change about the way we do this. Like this time we were both drinking because this movie was fucking crazy.
Oh my gosh.
If you like this, we'll drink more. I don't have a problem with that. Do you?
Okay, no, I wasn't drinking because the movie was crazy. I was drinking because in the movie, that was a very heavy theme of the movie. And it just felt right to me.
Booze was almost a character.
It was absolute. Oh my gosh. We forgot about the fifth character, Booze. There was the two main characters. There was Booze. There was a mermaid, and there was a dead associate. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
It was all the characters. So, folks, thank you once again for listening. Howligans, we will catch you next time. I've been Joe,
I'm Ryan.
and we out.
Ugh.
Oh, that movie. Oh my gosh.